And good evening. Thank you for joining us, whether you're watching our television broadcast tonight, watching online at abc6onyourside.com, or listening in on Radio 610 WTVN. We do appreciate you joining us for our town hall meeting. I'm Bob Kendrick. The question tonight before our audience and our panel and you is a simple one and a very complicated one at the same time. Should medical marijuana be legalized in the state of Ohio? And it's a question that will have to be answered by the state here soon, or it looks like it would be that way anyways, as there is both a bill before the House right now concerning the issue and a couple of grassroots initiatives underway that would ask voters whether they want medical marijuana legalized here in our state. And we have a full house at the Columbus Museum of Art. We're going to be taking questions here in just a little while, and we have a very passionate panel as well who are looking forward to presenting their views to you. So let's start by introducing the panel out here quickly. We'll start with folks that are in opposition to legalizing medical marijuana here in the state. They include, from left to right, Dr. Steve Matson. Steve is the president of the Ohio chapter of the American Society of Addictive Medicine, and he is an associate professor of pediatrics at OSU. Also joining us tonight, and we thank you, Marcy Seidel, is the executive director of Drug Free Action Alliance. Those in support of legalizing medical marijuana in the state, revising the marijuana laws, are Mike Revercombe, the vice president of Ohio NORML, and John Pardee, who is the president of the Ohio Rights Group. Now, for those of you who are joining us at home, we are going to be taking your social media comments as well. We hope we'll get a lot of those tonight, either on Facebook, also on Twitter. Adam Slinger standing by in our social media center tonight. The hashtag is Your Voice, Your Future. And tonight, many of you here in the audience will also have the chance to participate in our informal polls. We've got clickers. Everybody's got a clicker here, and we can weigh in on these poll questions and get answers to our audience and to you very, very quickly to see where folks stand on specific questions. Chris Van Oker is standing by with our first poll question of the evening. Chris, and what's that going to be?
Thank you, Bob. If I could get those in the audience, get your clickers out. Our first question is, do you think marijuana has a legitimate medical use? Please hit 1 for yes, 2 for no. And with about 126 responses, we're going to go ahead and close it up. And as you can see, Bob, 83% of those said yes, they think 83% say yes, medical marijuana does have a legitimate use.
Which would be pretty much in line with the national polling that I've read on the issue. Chris, thank you. We'll be checking back in with Chris in just a moment. I'm doing most of the talking up here tonight because our Yolanda Harris, unfortunately, has come down with a little bit of a frog in her throat here. But Yolanda, we'd be happy to have you over on her side of the room taking your questions tonight, folks. So just address the audience here with us. If you just make your way around to Yolanda and keep your questions very succinct to the point, we'll get to as many of you as we can here tonight. Let's start with the panel here, and just to give each of you a couple of minutes to just basically state your position here and why you're in opposition or support of legalizing medical marijuana, starting with Dr. Steve Matson. Steve?
So I'm the president of the Ohio chapter of the American Society for Addiction Medicine, and our national organization, the American Society, has come out strongly opposed to medical marijuana. We deal with people that are suffering from addictions on a daily basis, and I think we see what can come of marijuana use, especially in youth. I think our major concern is that there's a simple process, not so simple, but a very careful process through the FDA to okay medicines. It makes sure that there's a stable amount of medicine in every dose that's given. It makes sure that it actually works by doing blinded studies to make sure that a medicine actually does what it says it's going to do. And to that question, I think probably some of the chemicals in marijuana will have medical use, and they do right now, but I think we need to study them a lot more carefully, and certainly don't think legislators ought to be the people deciding whether a medicine is safe.
Marcy, why are you in opposition?
Well, we've done a position statement on it, and our position lines up very much the same as Dr. Matson. Raw marijuana is not medicine. It needs to go through rigorous testing to understand what the properties are and to make sure that its trials and its research says it's going to do what it says it should do. We want standard doses dosages. We want to make sure that we know what the side effects are. We want to know how it interacts with other medications. And we don't have that kind of information right now. And it's kind of, as I feel, as a voter who's perhaps going to be looking at changing our Constitution to add this in, I have no right to know that, and because I don't have the research or the studies or the experience to do that. We need to put that in the hands of a really well-revered system that we already have in the United States that will make sure that once people have this medication that it does exactly what it says it's going to do, and no harm is done. And the bottom line is that we want no harm to be done. There has been already medications that are have marijuana based in them. We have a Marinol, which is THC synthetic based. We have in the final trials a Sativex, which also has raw marijuana in it that we know that does pain relief. That's already in the process. And there's a new one that's coming in, going into clinical trials called Epidiolex, which has the CBDs, which will handle those, especially those that we're looking at right now with that very rare Dravet epilepsy syndrome. So we know that medications, we know, first of all, you don't have to change the scheduling of a drug because these drugs already show that we can do it without changing that. And we know that there are components in marijuana that are promising, just as morphine is promising or is used out of opium. So we know that. Let's do it the right way and make sure our citizens are safe.